Good morning. Are we on? We're live.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I see a number of you have already joined. Thank you for taking the time this morning and for taking note of the adjustments of time. So thanks for everyone for noting that, and happy to see you this morning. Good morning from Turin, from European Training Foundation. Thank you very much for joining. My name is Gordon Purvis. I am ETF, European Training Foundation Country Liaison with Serbia. I do know some of you. I can't see the full list right now, but I'm very happy that you're able to join. I'll get my thanks in first, not only thanking you, but also the colleagues who have put this together. I'm looking forward to a very interesting discussion today. I'm just going to take 1 minute or so just to give an overview. Basically, this work that you will see today, this is very much in the frame of our overall activities with Serbia, whether that be in the area of education, things like adult education, or more in terms of employability and labour market, whether that be looking ahead for the survey on skills or the work in youth guarantee, or indeed our ongoing work on ESCO. So I really want to be sure in framing this work in that overall context. Of course, that work is also for the interest and the benefit of your work. So there will be a section later in this meeting where we'll be able to have a discussion. We'll have to hear some of your questions about what's relevant for you. So I think I can speak for Laura and the rest of the team that we're very, very interested to hear your perspective when it comes to that. So yes, and this is overall in the framework of our work with Serbia. Obviously, that resonates with the overall enlargement agenda and also challenges like the growth plan and the reform agenda as well, and all the work that you're doing too. So that's all from me, really. I'm looking forward to a very interesting couple of hours, more or less. And handing over to Laura. So thanks again, Laura, and hear from you later in the meeting.
Thank you, Gordon, and good morning to all of you from my side as well. I'm Laura Veza Vishan, Human Capital Development Expert in ETF, focusing mainly on non-skills anticipation methods with particular focus on big data analysis of labor market information. And some of you may also know me from your ESCO-related work. And so today I'm very happy and thankful for your presence here, giving the date and the presence of the holidays very soon. We really appreciate your time and presence. And really the aim of this webinar, first webinar, is to look into, to introduce you to the online job vacancies analysis for Serbia, with building, of course, on the methodology that we have been developing in ETF in other partner countries. And really the aim of this webinar is to get a shared understanding, to understand and build trust among us and all of you on how the data has been produced, how it can be interpreted, and of course, very importantly, how it can be used. And in this view, today we are also, as Gordon said, collecting feedback. And for us, it's very important that you validate these findings, that you share information, feedback with us, and then we work together on improving, refining the data, maybe finding additional indicators depending on your needs. And then we plan to have a country workshop in October, and for that we will really welcome your insights. So looking at the agenda, Nicole, if you can please share. We have 2 hours together today. And yes, maybe an organizational aspect, you have the interpretation channel. I hope you're all familiar with Zoom by now, so you can already use it. I will have a very short presentation into why ETF is doing this for Serbia, and then we would continue with an overview of the methodology that we have been using for collecting, processing, and analyzing this OGV data, together with Francesco and Professor Mihail Arandarenko. And then we will have a presentation of the initial dashboards for Serbia together with Mauro. So they are our ETF project consortium, and they will introduce you to the specificities of the project. And we will have time for Q&A after every presentation. And then we have a slot at the end dedicated to more in-depth stakeholder discussions. As I said, collecting feedback, looking at next steps for preparing for the October webinar. So if that is okay for everyone, I would just share my screen to briefly have an overview of... I think you can see it. Okay. Just wanted to frame it a bit, to frame the project, the OGV analysis within ETF's multi-source approach to skills intelligence. As many of you know already, ETF generates both qualitative and quantitative evidence on skills demand. So we are using different data collection instruments to look at the skills demand in our ETF partner countries. Among those are really the more traditional labor market sources that we use, for example, in the KISE indicators, the statistical indicators, the Torino process reports, but also our own calculations from primary data, which here I'm referring more to the skills mismatch analysis, sector employment analysis, and also platform work. The third, let's say, a component is the big data analysis. And here we have a particular attention to online job vacancies, but not only. We also look at patent data, mining, platform work data. So all this information that can be collected and analyzed through the web. And then, of course, we do also more qualitative analysis through interviews, focus groups. And here we have examples for Serbia of the EU studies that we have done in the past. Also the ESGS analysis more recently. And all this to say is that OGV analysis fits within this wider framework. It is an important big data evidence, as we will see further on, but it should be treated with caution and combined, of course, with other data sources to really better understand the skills demand. And so what are the motivations behind going through this analysis and using this very specific, very important and innovative source of labor market information? It's mainly because, as we all know, labor market information is constantly changing. We have evolutions of skills. There are potentially new emerging occupations. There are impacts of automation, remote working, and the use of artificial intelligence. And for all this, of course, this impacts the skills needs analysis, the necessity to have up-to-date information about these changes, and in order to align this information with market demands. And so also the way labor market information is presented is changing. So we're starting to move from the more traditional data sources, so very conventional statistical data, that is, of course, very important, but we see this change, this move towards new innovative sources of information, as we said, not just online vacancies, but other types of sources that can be scraped from the internet. And then at the level of the data analysis, there is a change towards, AI-assisted methods and focusing more on data science and the possibilities that this brings. And in terms of data delivery, we can see a shift from more web intelligence share systems, online interactive dashboards that we will see today, and other types of multi-country platforms. And so this brings us to where ETF has been working for a while now. There has been several phases of the development of the project. This has started in 2018, 2019 with the first methodological handbook that has been published in 2019, really setting the basis of how this whole methodology is being implemented, not just for ETF countries, but in general. And then in ETF, we started 2019, 2020 with a feasibility analysis for two countries, for Tunisia and Morocco. And then we started from there to implement the first analysis, the first dashboards in the data production system, and Ukraine was also included. Then we expanded to new countries. We added Georgia. We had also a dedicated green analysis dashboard. And in phase 5 in 2022, 2024, we added two more countries, Egypt and Kenya, and further expanded the dashboards with digital analysis and remote work, for example, in Ukraine. And this brings us to where we are today, where we're launching two new countries. Serbia is one, but also we will launch information dashboards for Bosnia and Herzegovina. And in the same time, of course, we're maintaining the existing data. We're aligning everything with ESCO taxonomy in order to also make sure that we are aligned and have data comparable with CEDEFOP Skills of 8 project that covers the EU 27 countries. So this is to show you that the project moved really from pilots to really scalable, comparable labor market intelligence systems. And maybe a closer focus on what are online job vacancies, because maybe for some of you this is really new. This is a growing source of real-time labor market evidence, and they are basically public postings that signal employer demand as a specific point in time. And they capture very granular and detailed information, especially on occupations, on skills and tasks, on location, education level, contract types, sectors, etc. This is why they're very important and complementary to other traditional data sources. And why they're important? Because their volume actually enables these granular insights. They can help us spot new phenomena that appears in the labor market. For example, emerging skills, jobs, green digital skills penetration, AI skills as well. So all this can be collected from data available publicly on the internet. And for this, of course, the implication is that it requires big data processing and methods, specialized methods to extract these meaningful insights. And there are, of course, many challenges related to it. And for that, I will give the floor to my colleagues to take us through the exact methodologies, how we have been doing this. So I'll stop here my presentation, and I invite Francesco to share his screen. I think my screen, yeah, blocked.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Just a second, I will go full screen and start sharing it. Let's see. Can you just confirm you can see it properly, the full screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Laura. So, welcome everyone to this workshop. As Laura anticipated, this part of the presentation, the one I'm in charge of, will cover the topic of the methodology that we used to collect, process, and analyze online job vacancies. In particular, my presentation will focus on the so-called landscaping, which is the preliminary activity which allows to map the market, so the online job vacancies market in a country, that also informs all the subsequent phases of collection, processing, and analytics of OJV data. Today I will be Professor Michael Arandarenko, who was our national expert for this exercise. He contributed was the pillar of this activity. I will be the one speaking for sake of time, but I guess for question and answers we can be the both of us to reply, since the drafting of this of the report, which was the outcome of the landscaping activity, is a joint activity we did. So a brief overview of what I'm going to cover. First, I will start from a background information and background overview on web data for labor market intelligence. As Laura anticipated, they are quite different from traditional sources, and it is worth having a first look at the specificities, so to advantages and drawbacks of this kind of sources for the creation of knowledge, and what differences them from traditional survey sources. I will then delve into the ETF landscaping procedure, so the one that we employed actually to run the landscaping for the case of Serbia, and the main findings of this activity. So let's start from background. So the web data compared to sample surveys, so the most used together with administrative data sources for labor market, for knowledge on the labor market, have compared to these sample surveys, web data have remarkable advantages and also some limitation that should be taken into account and managed in order to produce valuable knowledge from this source. In particular, differences can span across along many different dimensions. The first dimension is the type of data that can be retrieved. So in sample surveys, which are by design structured with closed or controlled questions, data type are fixed ex ante. So before the data collection starts, we always know which data types we are going to collect, which is not the case for web data. So web data are user generated in the most of time. Users can be also machine in some cases, and they can have many different types of formats. So they can be structured, namely they can be tagged within web pages. They can be identified. Their content can be identified in a sense. They can be semi-structured. They can be or completely unstructured. So think of free text, think of images, so there are a lot of type of data that can be found online. And this creates an important difference in the way you have to treat them. So sample surveys are predictable in terms of data type. Web data need to be understood ex ante, so before starting the collection of the data. Also, the generation rate is different. So while sample surveys are periodical or regularly done on a planned basis, well, web data instead are near real time or generated with depending on user activity. And this creates volume, so a lot of volume of data, and at the same time need management because they are not predictable in terms of generation time. Also, the data model is different, so this is related to the data type. While data in sample surveys are relational, so elements are related one to another through identifiers, this is not the same for web sources, in which, since they are not planned ex ante, they are not usually non-relational. And also the quality in samples depends on owners, so on the one that designed the survey, while on the web data, this depends on users and also on providers, so service providers, choice of constraining the use of website by users themselves. So think of job portals. Clearly, the provider gives the platform. The platform has some constraints, but some content can be defined by the user himself. Think of job descriptions. While this is not the case in other cases, this content is constrained to some structured field. So you have little margin. So you have no freedom. You have to choose along different alternatives. While in sample surveys, this is really constrained. Also, the coverage is another issue. So by design, sample surveys are created to be representative of some population of interest, while web data do not have this property as they are user generated. Also, therefore, the analysis should, in case of sample surveys, can follow a top-down model-based approach, while from the web we need to really understand what we are collecting and apply some bottom-up data-driven analysis. And this leads to all these dimensions lead to the value of this data, which are in a sense in sample surveys intrinsic. So it is the reason why they are created is specifically to reply to some questions, and so the value of this data is intrinsic, while considering that web data were generated for other means, just like administrative data in some cases, the value must be found through appropriate treatment of the sources. So in general, these important differences can be translated into a very simple statistical principle, which is that basically statistical concepts are not directly embedded into the data we collect, but they must be imposed after the information is produced and is collected. So it is fundamental to map the sources the web sources that can be used, and they should be understood deeply. These all translate in issues and countermeasures that can be employed to make web data relevant, and this is the case also for online job vacancies sources. So as I told you a few moments ago, representativeness and coverage is an issue. So there is no sampling design in web data. It all depends on the web sources that can be accessed. Secondly, the measurement. There are a variety of formats that can be employed by users and by platform providers, and these really create issues in the ability to create standardized measures of or standardized observation from web data. Then there is an issue of timeliness, the high frequency.
Just debug Scar like that. He is such a special human. I don't think it's easy to talk about someone.
Sorry?
Yes, there's a noise. I think, Gordon, your mic is open. Can you please turn it off?
Was it a question? Sorry, Laura, was it a question?
No, I think it was just
Okay,
the mic that was disconnected. Thanks.
Okay.
You can continue. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So the volume, as I was saying, volume is also an issue. So we have a lot of data generated continuously, and therefore there is a clear trade-off between coverage, so being able to collect all the possible sources of interest, and the costs that this implies. Then we have the issue of duplication. So the same statistical unit can be informed by many instances of observational units. So think of a single job vacancy posted across different sources. This really create possible overlapping and biases in observation if not treated correctly. And finally, the metadata. Clearly, web data usually do not have documentation of the data themselves and the data generating process. And therefore, these create a necessity, a need of, even before starting to collect the data, to map what's available in the possible sources and their characteristics. So I will now focus on the reason why we do the landscaping. So the landscaping is that preliminary activity which is run before data collection in order to map existing sources and in order to understand the context in which these web sources, which in online job vacancies cases are job portals, public employment services website, all the outlets that display job vacancies, how they, in the context in which they are embedded. So, and the importance of the landscaping is highlighted by the relevance it has as a countermeasure to the limitations of online web data in general, and in the case of online job vacancies. So think of representativeness. We said there is no sampling design. Therefore, we need to assess the sources, and through the landscaping, we exactly map all the OJV service providers and the context in which they are embedded. So I will present you the results of this activity, which is also reported in the document, in the landscaping documentation that we produced. And so we cover all the the characteristics of the labor market, the characteristics of the web use, the internet use by the general population, by job seekers, by recruiters, and we try therefore to understand which are the boundaries, the possible users of job vacancies in order to understand their representativeness. Landscaping also allow to target the issue of timeliness and volume, because it allows to run some source management. So carefully selecting sources and managing them properly allows to cover clearly to deal with the high frequency of the data and also their volume, so reducing the cost and increasing their meaningfulness, the value they have. Also, duplication can be dealt with through an appropriate selection of sources, because we can reduce having an idea of the type of scope of each source, doing assessment which is done before data collection, in order to understand which are the best alternatives or the best complementary sources for any activity. And finally, the metadata, since we do not have user or owners generated metadata, as a researcher, that we collect the data and we assess the source's technical characteristics, in a sense, defining our own metadata by ourselves. As you see, some countermeasures are not related to this activity yet, as it is the case for measurement, which is so the variety of format is indeed dealt with in the processing phase through automated classifiers and standard taxonomies, to which the observed user-generated content is translated to. So, for instance, on website, occupation are seldomly defined according to some international standard. The user just define them as he or she wish, while what it is done in the processing case is to classify these natural language text into standard taxonomies such as ESCO. So we also have therefore other countermeasures which are taken into account in other phases of the activity. Yet the landscaping is an important part that allows to really to inform all the processing, the data collection, processing, and analytics. Here is so a brief summary. So basically, the landscaping is a process devoted to identify available sources and their characteristics. Is the process that is also devoted to map the context in which they operate, and also devoted to provide a basis for evidence-based source selection, which is highly relevant for the reasons that I explained. The landscaping also impacts, as I said, on all the subsequent activity, on collection, so source choices and collection methods, the processing, choices of classifiers depending on the source characteristics, and also the analytics, because it really informs representativeness and the coverage of the market which is absorbed in the data, as well as the best uses of the data we can make, given the restriction we have in data access. So this is a general overview of web data and online job vacancies. if you have any question about this introductory background section, feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, I will proceed to explain you the procedure that we specifically employed for this exercise for Serbia. Okay, so if there is I see no question, feel free to ask them also later, but I will then move to the next section. So this is the procedure that was specifically employed in the case of Serbia. First of all, there is a local expert, Professor Mihail Andarenko of the University of Belgrade, and Professor Andarenko and experts his contribution was fundamental because we need an understanding of the context in which online job vacancies are created in terms of digitization, in terms of penetration of digital tools for job seeking and recruiting in the local market, and also to the language knowledge in order to assess the sources that can be found online. The steps which we followed are the following. The first is the source identification, which was a desk search for sources operated both by the consortium and also by the expert, on the base of some standard queries. So basically, we made the first search, and then we queried also the web with specific standard wordings to collect all the possible candidate website that present online job vacancies. Secondly, all these sources were assessed in order to understand their characteristics. So do they have any information on occupation? Do they have any information on all the other relevant dimensions we are interested in, which is the geographical scope of these sources, which is the economic sector they are focused on, if any. So we need to have a complete view on the source characteristics in order to understand which are the most valuable and useful to collect data from. Then a third step is the documentation of the market and the context in which OJVU are created. So we drafted a report with a profile of the Serbian economy and its labor market, with notable trends that affect online job vacancies. And secondly, the digitization and use of online channels for recruitment and job search, which also allows to understand the coverage, okay, the representativeness. Sorry, not the coverage, rather than the representativeness of the data we collect. And finally, also, we implemented the source selection rule, which is based on the technical characteristics of the source, which were assessed in step number 2, and also the relevance, which take also into account the relevance that the source have for the target market. So we have a trade-off here for sure. So on the one side, the best sources from the technical point of view, so with the best website, the most suitable for machine reading, may not be the most relevant in a market, so the most popular than the most used. And so we have to balance across the two dimensions. So be, in a sense, aware that when we want to have a high coverage of the market, it may come with expenses of the difficulty of classifying the content. Okay, yet it might be worth doing because the source is highly popular. And here are the main findings of the landscaping activity we run in Serbia. This is just a very short summary, and my intention is to let all the elements that are more relevant for this discussion to emerge. rather than to highlight all the possible results that we have. So I think that reading that could be the most so I think that the publication is the most proper way to go into detail. Yet some notable facts can be highlighted. Notable facts that are relevant for online job vacancies analysis and analysis of and the labor market intelligence in general. So we mapped the population and the labor force, and what it is really important about these facts. I will not go into detail in facts that you know well, but it is important to note that Serbia emerged as an exporter of digital and remote labor for quite a long time. So around 3% of employees work remotely. And this is really important because usually the IT sector is highly represented overrepresented in online job vacancies. And so, and it is also a fast-moving sector in terms of competencies and occupational change. And so this is an interesting element to be taken for discussion. So it is an interesting aspect of the labor market that can be seen through. It is possibly seen through online job vacancies. It also has a balanced service sector, and yet the agricultural sector has a high incidence in terms of employment, and usually agricultural sector is not present in online job vacancies. So we expect this sector, which is highly relevant, to be underrepresented. Finally, so also the informality still accounts for a quite high share of employment, so around 11%. And this also means that part of the actual labor market may be not appearing in any digital outlet. So we may think that informal, so all the prospective employers that look to hire with informal contracts may not use digital outlet to publish their OJV. And also, but on the other side, we know that the internet use and online recruitment is quite widespread, especially for some part of the population. So around 90% of households has access to the internet, and over 95% of young job seekers use online platform to look for a job. So it is highly relevant for a part of the population. And also we know that the digital government maturity is very high, and this may be a promoter of any other private service that run through the web. In terms of the job portals that we were able to identify, here they are 19. There is one public employment service, a strong public portal, a single one, which is surprising because in many countries there is more than one public employment service website, mainly, and sometimes these websites are targeting different subpopulations, while having a single one is quite convenient from the technical and qualitative point of view. And we also have a highly concentrated market. So for the reason why that I explained before, so also the diffusion of digital jobs, the growth of digital occupations, and the use of this channel, which is mediated by the high penetration rate of internet, and also by the diffusion of these tools, the market is quite large, and it has a high concentration. There is a large group, InfoStud, which has a number of different websites that targets subpopulations, and it essentially dominates the private sector. So we also have some relatively new or small portals, but the high concentration of the market also means in terms of quality that collecting few sources can also allow to have a good level of coverage of all the possible OJV that are published. And so I will not go through through the whole list. This is just to show you that we have a variety of sources, both national and international, and that we also identified both public and all the major private and all the small private providers. How all these activity of monitoring and understanding the context and understanding the sources translate to the possible uses of the data? Well, here are a few topics that we think are highly relevant, that may be also useful for the final discussion. The OJV may be very important, that it is, and it is the case in all countries, to signal changes related to quality of demand. So think of the content of, so that which occupations demand is shifting to, which sector are those having a highest demand, which skills are through time changing their relevance in employers' needs. Also, the qualification demand. So tracking skills and going into detail within the high variety of skill can also inform on qualification and skill themselves, also especially in fast-moving sector like information technologies. It is also a relevant source for information which is difficult to grasp through other sources, especially wages, because usually wages are present in online job vacancies, even as intervals, especially, and so this can provide point information on wages and on bargaining, which are not available through other sources. It also allows the tracking of occupational composition of demand, so structural shifts in the occupational mix of demand over time. Clearly, we should also remember the limitations, so the low presence of agriculture, the importance of small family businesses, all the informal jobs, micro enterprises. These usually are not available, not present in online job vacancies. Yet the occupation which are advertised so the vacancies which are advertised online can also inform how occupation are changing for a part of employers, and this can also translate in policies or can be informative in any case for all the other players in the market. And finally, it is important to remember that public employment services and private services usually focus on different populations, and so they are complementary in terms of information they provide. Also, relating vacancies with unemployment, it is possible to draft some average curves or to have an understanding of labor shortages, and which are highly valuable for planning of active labor market policies or for labor policies in general. And finally, it is also possible, given the high level of detail, to let regional disparities emerge, as well as disparities across other dimensions, such as contracts, type of contracts, so permanent or temporary ones, and so the sector, and so on. So with this, I conclude. I thank you for your attention, and I'm really glad to reply to your question.
Laura, we cannot hear you.
Not here, sorry.
Laura, we can.
No,
Sorry,
unfortunately.
Laura, we still can't hear you. No.
Still not?
Yes.
Oh, yes,
Now,
yes.
yes. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Sorry for this technical issue. Thank you very much, Francesco and Professor Andarenko, for all the work, for all the presentation. I would open the floor to questions. You can pick up the mic if you would like, just to clarify what you have seen, or you can alternatively use the chat if you prefer. But we have a few minutes here just to clarify the methodology, the sources that we identified. If there's anything that surprises you or that you were very familiar with, we welcome any questions at this stage. Okay, I don't see any particular question. I know this is maybe very to you, so you need a bit more time to take everything in. Is there a question? I don't think so.
Laura, hi, it's Gordon here. No questions so far from the colleagues, but shall we move on and give people the chance to digest a little bit, and we can come back to questions later. But like I said, any of the colleagues there, if you have any questions, feel free to put these in the chat or even send by email if you like. But we'll come back. You'll have more time at the end of the meeting. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Gordon. Okay, then I suggest we move on with Mauro, looking actually into the dashboards to see some initial findings. This is not yet available for public. Mauro, maybe you can also mention that. And the documentation, so you have received the documents in English, and we are working on the translation, and you will receive everything translated after this meeting. So maybe that will be a bit more helpful. And then, of course, we welcome any other feedback or questions that you might still have, also via email, if that's the case. So Mauro, over to you.
Thank you, Laura, for the introduction, and also thank you, Francesco and Professor Arandarenko, for the beautiful work on the landscaping. So, like Laura and Francesco mentioned during the previous presentation, what I will present now is the result of the landscaping report, because, of course, the data that we present were collected in the last couple of months from online job boards, from the Public Employment Service, from employer website. And what we did in the last couple of months was also to implement machine learning model, AI models, NLP models to decode the language of the Serbian employers and to link the job posting data to occupation and skill coming from the ESCO taxonomy. The work is still in progress, so it's the first result that you will see today, and the results are quite prominent because I will start to share some insight about digital skill, digital occupation, green. Of course, it's the first draft, so we will address in the next couple of weeks, next couple of the next month, mainly the issue about the AI models. You know that AI models could be really accurate, but they can have hallucination. So what we will do in the next phase of the project, it will be to work with Professor Arandarenko that will evaluate the result, will address some issue, and will give us the possibility to retrain another time the machine learning model to improve the final result. All the results of the data production system of ETF are published in dashboard. It's the same for the other country that Laura mentioned before. Here today, in a few minutes, I will present the Serbia dashboard. that will be included in the public dashboard in a few weeks when we will validate the data, when the data will be ready for everyone. And the dashboard permit you to navigate the data, to extract in Excel, to use the data also with your data, because the goal of the dashboard is to give you a layer to navigate mainly the main variable of the labor market, but also to start to use the data combining the online job posting data with traditional sources, like Francesco explained really well. Only to recap the main methodology under the data production system. The data production system is composed by 4 main layers. The first layer is about the ingestion, and it's the activity when we collect from the online portals the online job posting data. It's an activity in real time. So meanwhile I am speaking, the scraper, the robot, are downloading the data for us, and the data are ready for the next iteration, for the next publication. The second main phase about the data production is about the data quality. What means data quality? That we apply machine learning model, we apply AI to measure the quality of the data. Like Francesco said, in some portal, all the information are already ready. In our portal, we have some dimension, the sector, the location, the salary, but not all the dimension are ready. So the goal is to improve the quality, to remove the noise. The third main phase is about the AI application, where we use AI in the system, more or less everywhere, but in particular to link the job posting data in your language, in Serbian, to ESCO taxonomy at 4-digit level and 5-digit level, and to skills. I will also show our dimension like the education and experience, the region, the location, I mean. But mainly AI is used to link job posting data to ESCO occupation and ESCO skill. I will show you the data in a few minutes. And the last part of the data production system is about the presentation of the data. I mean, the use of the data. In this context, the last part of the data production system is composed by the database with all the data, and also the dashboard. Dashboard is about the navigation of the data. So let me to start. All the ETF dashboard are organized in the same way. So if someone of you are already using our dashboard from the ETF production system, the section are the same. So as you can see here, we are analyzing 55,000 postings collected in Serbia since 2021. Why 2021 and not 2026? Because collecting data also for the other ETF countries, we in some cases collected data for Serbia. Why? Because some big international portals are not only publishing data, for example, Hello World, mentioned before by Francesco in the top job boards. Hello World is an international portal that is publishing, as you can see here, is publishing data for Ukraine, Georgia, other country, okay? And we started to collect data from Hello World since 2023. So as you can see, we have some data before 2026, but are not consistent, okay? Because are coming from sources that are not specific for your country, are not in landscaping. As you can see here, I will put the focus today to 2026 because Professor Arandarenko did the landscaping. So we have the official sources that are relevant for your country. As you can see in this first part of the dashboard, you can navigate the data collected, 4,000 in the last couple of months. We started officially the project with the kickoff in February. So as you can see, we have a sort of a map about the ingestion, and currently we are around 2,000, between 1 and 2,000 job posting collected by month. We have a distribution of the languages. Is expected we will have the Serbian language that will grow in the next iteration of the project. As you can see, the first two main language about the online job market. We need to remember ourselves, like Francesco did really well, that we are considering the online labor market and not everything. As you can see, the first two languages are about Serbian and English. It's normal. It's also common in our country. In European countries, English is quite used as a business language around. And as you can see, we have a distribution about the sources. Here you have the sources mentioned by Francesco before, and our minor sources that are where we are collecting occasionally the data due the collection also for our account. As you can see, the main occupation group, if I watch the three, we have the professional. It's normal, like Francesco said, that in online job posting data, we have more job posting for professional occupation. I mean engineers, economists, statisticians, mathematicians, educators, teachers. The second is about elementary occupation. I mean, it's common. We have all of the logistic and transportation workers, the cleaning industry, our, let me to say, low skilled level occupation. And usually the third one is the technician and the associated professional. I mean, occupation that are similar to professional, but usually are coming from a bachelor degree or post-secondary education or something similar, are the technician. You know better than me. From the first section, I can go in detail. So, sorry, I didn't mention the region. We have also the job location. East dimension in progress, so not yet completed. As you can see, we have a few postings tagged across the region. We will improve the job location categorization in the next iteration of the project, I mean in July. The second main part of the dashboard is about the occupation overview. One topic, dashboard are not static, are interactive dashboard. So if you want to go in detail about one particular dimension, you can click, I will check the science and engineering professionals. As you can see, I can go in detail about these 351 job posting published in the last couple of months for science and engineering professional. As you can see, the first one are the engineering, not elsewhere classified, but also we have a production engineer, graphical and multimedia designer, mechanical engineer, and I can go in detail about each single dimension to understand what are the specific job title required by the Serbian employer. For mechanical engineer, we don't have a lot, but if I go to the engineer not elsewhere classified, we have the quality engineer 80% of the time, the solar energy engineer, and so on. So you can go in detail about everything. This dashboard is about also other dimension. As you can see, if I go, for example, to the administrative and commercial manager, I can go in detail like I did before. Here we have also the distribution, and we have the experience and the education. For the education, we are using the ESHED framework, mainly at the first level, 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 8. 8 are the PhD, doctoral or equivalent. 1 is primary education. Several times, education is not present in the data, and we are using a model to infer the occupation from the text. From education from the text. Education and occupation are not extracted together, but are extracted from two different models. Because the goal is to understand if the employer are using the correct qualification, the correct education for the specific occupation, or if there is a skill mismatch or skill shortage for some occupation. So employers are looking for a manager with no graduation, okay, because maybe they are not able to find them in the market, or in our case, they specify something different from our mind. So it's normal because we apply two different models to extract occupation from one side and education to the other side. I will go to the sector overview, okay? As you can see, I am analyzing every time of the 2026, only to have data that are consistent with the landscaping. It's really important. We are maintaining the data before to give you more data if you want to analyze. But in my opinion, it's important to analyze the data of 2026 before, because are coming from the landscaping did by Professor Arandarenko. As you can see here, you can navigate by occupation at level 4. I can select, for example, the class of the messenger, the package delivers, and so on. I can understand what is the industry sector present. I can go in detail about the specific sector, if I need, transportation and storage, up to the second level of the NACE taxonomy. We are not able to go more in detail due to the nature of the data. Often the sector is not present. It's true for, as you can see, the logistics sector. I can also do for the ICT, where software developers are in demand in Serbia in 2026. As you can see, the first two ones are quite obvious because we have the professional and the scientific sector. We have the information and the communication. It's expected, but it's I think also important to see that in other sector like construction, the entertainment, the manufacturing, they are looking for software developer and ICT occupation. Of course, it's not the first occupation in demand. Engineering is the first occupation if I watch manufacturing, but I can go in detail about this, let me to say, not expected combination of occupation and sector. I will go either to the education overview. Also in this context, I can analyze the data by occupation. Occupation is according to ISCO and ESCO level 4. If you missing something, if you don't remember the taxonomy used or what you have in the dashboard, you have in every single sheet this I button that you can click to have a reference about the data inside the single sheet and the taxonomy used. So if you miss something about the methodology, the presentation, this button is contextualized for each single sheet and permit you to go and to see what are the taxonomy mainly used. I will return to the education overview. As you can see, I can select a software developer and see what is the education required and the experience. I repeat, education and occupation, skill sector are not extracted together, but with a different model, because the goal is to try to unlock new insights that are hidden from a traditional way to operate. For software developer, as you can see, one message that I have here that the experience a lot of time is not mentioned, maybe because there is a skill shortage about the software developer. A lot of time is mentioned and is, let me to say, an early career from 1 to 2 years, and also we have the more senior in demand. Education is, let me to say, really spread from lower secondary to doctor and equivalent. Of course, the skill could be different, but what is important that maybe match the not defined, that the employer are not looking for something specific on the education requirement, but they are watching a little more spread. Because I repeat, maybe we need also to check our sources if there is a skill search about ICT in the specific software developer occupation. I will go to the more interesting part, the skill, because of course the goal of the online job posting data, like mentioned by Francesco before, is to go in detail about the skill. It's job posting data with your job description is, I think, a unique source about the skill requirement. And here we have 3 different sheets about the skills. One general about the skill overview, one specific for the digital skill, and one specific for the green skill. I will start from the general overview about the skill. Here you can use 2 different frameworks to analyze the skill in 2026. You can use the ESCO framework, or you can use the ONET framework. You can choose what is the best approach according to your needs. I will start from the ONET because I switched. I can watch widely in Serbia what are the skills that are more in demand. As you can see about the technology, the Office suite is about ERP system for enterprise. It's not only about Microsoft Office, okay? It's a general skill about the use of Office suite inside an enterprise and the skill is the more in demand. I can go in detail about the knowledge. As you can see, the first one is about personal and human resources, and then we have communication, computer electronics, and so on. This is, I repeat, the ONET framework. I will switch to the ESCO framework. ESCO framework is a little different, is organized, so the skills are the same, it's only 2 different frameworks to analyze them. Here you can analyze by knowledge, skill, or transversal skill, and selecting one occupation. I will go to the engineering and professional. You can go in detail about the skills that are more in demand. For engineering professional, as you can see, I have the use of the computer, the use of software application. I can go in detail about the skill, use digital tool to collaborate, the use of programming computer system is around 50% in demand. So as you can see here, you have the specific skills. You can always export the data in the dashboard using this button. My one is in Italian, okay? But if you use your browser, you will have in English, Serbian, is dependent by your language. I will go in detail now about digital and green. So the digital sector is about the digital skill is about the evolution of the digital pervasiveness and the digitaliness in 2026 in the different occupation. If you don't remember definition, I will explain now, you can use the button to go in detail about the meaning of digital pervasiveness and digitaliness. As you can see, we define digital pervasiveness, the share of the posting that mention at least one digital skill. The digitaliness is the share of digital skill across the total number of the skill set of an occupation. So 2 different metrics to analyze digital. We will use the same metric in the green dashboard. And as you can see here, you have the definition and the evolution of digitaliness and the digital pervasiveness. We need to remember that we started in February. So of course, we have more data in April and in May, and the data will go ahead. So in few days, we will add also June data. We can go in detail about the occupation that are more ranked by digitaliness. As you can see, we have the multimedia developers, web and multimedia, the occupation about arts, so graphical designer and so on, the database and professional related occupation, or I can go in detail about the digital pervasiveness. So occupation where at least is mentioned one digital skill. As you can see, the picture is completely different because, as you can see, the first one is payroll clerks. That is not about ICT occupation. Why payroll clerks is the first one? Because over 100 posting, we have a few posting, but in these 8 posting in 7 is mentioned at least one digital skill that could be the use of one HR information system, okay, to create the pay slip at the end of the month. As you can see, we have the graphical and multimedia designer here because the employer mentioned, for example, skill like, I don't know, here, the use of creative software suite, the develop of creative idea, the use of Microsoft Office, the computer programming. As you can see, if I select one specific occupation, I can go in detail about the specific list of skill required about the digital. About the digital definition, we are using the ESCO definition about the digital skill. So, business IT system is a digital skill because it's marked by ESCO as digital skill. Region is not present because, I repeat, we are working on it. You will have the distribution by occupation, by sector, and also by region. You can do the same on the green skill insight. Here we are using the same indicator, of course, measured over green skills. For the green skill definition, here we are not using only ESCO, but also some keyword, technology, regulation defined by ETF to be specific for the ETF partner countries. As you can see, for example, the first one is not part of the ESCO framework, is sustainable transportation. The second one is sustainable transport. The third one is about electricity that is coming from ESCO. Also here, you can go in detail about one specific occupation. Here we have the research and development manager. Inside this ISCO class, we have, for example, the product manager, okay, that are part of the research and development manager. And as you can see, the first skill is about electricity. We have the transportation, the green energy, the efficiency, the smart grid. I can do the same, for example, for the electrical mechanics that is here, where electricity is the first skill. Or I can sort the data by greenness, and I can do the same. Here we have the electrical mechanics and filters, where the first skill is about electricity. I can go in detail about electronics engineers, where we have energy storage, that is really important, and so on. Every single part of the dashboard is exportable with image, PDF, Excel. And finally, you have this compare data tool. That is a tool to quickly compare two different periods, two different occupations, two different subsets of the ETF Serbia online job posting data. For example, I can compare the data just collected formally with the landscaping of Mihail with previous year, where we know that the data were collected randomly, okay? So not in a consistent way. As you can see, I can compare the distribution of the data about occupation, about economic sector. I can compare one specific ISCO group, for example. I can go, for example, to the technician, the ISCO group number 3, and I can compare what was before. So in 2025, I can select the technician, and I can go in detail if something is different. As you can see here, the first occupation is buyer. Here is about nursing as a professional. I repeat, this is 2026, so more consistent. 2025, data collected around. But I think it's important because we can start to compare something to understand if the trend are confirmed or not. I will stop myself. If you have any question or topic, please use the chat or I don't know if they can open the mic.
Thank you very much, Mauro. Yes, I also invited participants in the chat to write questions, but I would really welcome more interaction. Now we have the time dedicated to stakeholder discussions. So really, we prepared a few questions for us to reflect together on. But before going there, I would maybe just pause a bit and see if there are immediate clarification questions. from what you have seen in the dashboards. As Mauro said, this is work in progress. These are just the initial findings. We are still working on the data. The aim is to make them available in the public dashboards. I shared with you the link here in the chat, and we will, of course, later on share it via email. This is public data, so you will have access to it at any time. You can export it in different formats, as Mauro explained. And really the goal is to sit together to explore how can you make use of this data and how relevant this is for your work, for all the different activities that you are doing. And we really want to get your insights to contextualize basically this data within the wider skills anticipations methodology that you use. So I don't see particular questions for clarification.
There is one question maybe from Daniela Shepanovic.
Yes,
Yes, Daniela,
here.
sorry. Yes.
Thank you very much for this presentation. I think for us, I already see the use because I work in the digital education, and we really struggle to communicate the importance of digital skills. And this I already see for our big conference at the end of October that is targeting teachers, that we could really present some, let's say, agreed and together findings that will show that their work is not, that their work is quite important for the future of the students and for the job market that is clearly in the high demand of digital skills. And this is something really, I'm really pleased to see this initiative, and it's very, let's say, complex, but also new and I see promising. But my question would be related to green skills, because I see that there is a green skills competence framework of the European Union, which is more comprehensive than the green skills approach here. So I think I would like to ask, what is the plan for the future part on green skills? Because not all these green skills are covered, particularly those, the most important, related to climate issues, because I think those related to climate issues and you see something related to nature and are more important than transportation, energy, whatsoever. So this is my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniela, for your input and question. Regarding the conference that you mentioned, yes, of course, I mean, we're here to support you, to help you. So whatever you need in terms of material or presentation, please don't hesitate to come to us. And in terms of the question that you had about the green competence framework of the European Commission, so we made an explicit choice to work with this specific green skills taxonomy. That is a combination of ETF analysis and ESCO, because basically the green competence is much wider. It's about, let's say, green competences for life that do not necessarily will appear in online vacancies. So we are really focusing on what employers are asking, and in most of the cases they are asking you green competencies related to a job or a task or a technology. So not these very wider, let's say, more transversal green competencies. I don't know, Mauro, if you would like to add on it.
No, so same comment, Laura. So yes, so we use ESCO. Some skill about the climate change are included in the framework, and this is the first interaction. So you are seeing really the first draft. So maybe with the help of Professor Arandabrenko, we will include also something different during the validation phase that will start in few days. Second, the same comment of Laura. So we need to remember that the system is not, let me to say, inventing skill or extracting skill that are implicit for an occupation. I mean, I always use this example. For a mechanical engineer, it's mandatory to have skills about the mechanical engineering, the use of tool to create design, chart, and so on. But maybe the employer are not mentioning a skill requirement in the job posting only because they are implicit in the occupation. The system is extracting what is present in the demand, okay? And maybe in some case, employer are, let me to say, prioritize for the hiring because the scope of the job posting is to hire some specific skill and are not mentioning other one. However, so we will go more in detail. I took some note about your observation to understand if could be an improvement about the extraction of the data, so we are missing something, and we will go in detail in the next couple of days.
Thank you, Mauro. So are there any other questions about the dashboard? So the link I shared in the chat, as we said, the data for Serbia is not there yet. What Mauro showed is our insight, but we will definitely publish this in the coming months. I would, yes, invite us all to reflect, and specifically because we work together also on ESCO, so I would really welcome your insights on how your institution could actually use these dashboards. I'm thinking maybe colleagues from the Public Employment Service would like to share. Because we are analyzing your portal, are these valuable insights that you could then potentially include in what you're doing? Any insight will be really, really interesting for us at this stage. So please don't hesitate to take the floor.
Yes, thank you, Laura, and thank you, Mauro, for this presentation. I believe that I've already spoken with Gordon and with you about the labor management intelligence system that we are building in Serbia. It would be something similar to this. Our goal is to fully adopt ESCO and to look at people and to look at vacancies in Serbia in terms of skills and competences, not in terms of job location. So what we are doing now is something very similar to what you've been showing to us, and we've moved on a lot from there. Our idea with this is to continue working with the group that you've also been part of, and to fully utilize ESCO in Serbia.
Thank you, Milan. We did not see you, but we heard you very well. So indeed, you have this national working group on ESCO, and we're there. We are there to support you, and this is precisely why this new data source would be an additional help, I think, for you. We would just like to understand if because you said you're working on something very similar. Is this something that we could, find synergies? Because there are possibilities. We have the dashboard that you can see, so you can use it as it is, or maybe we can look further into integrating this dashboard into your existing IT tools or portals. So there are different possibilities that we can now explore.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely like to talk more with you and with Mauro and Gordon about implementing these dashboards into our dashboards. And I would really like to express our gratitude to you and for all the help that you're providing with the work group and with the ESCO stuff that we're doing. It really means a lot to us.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm also, yeah, Gordon.
Hi. So I was just looking at the agenda, Laura. So shall we? Do I take it now that we're going to look at more widely at the questions, at the more of the wide questions now, or I'm just wondering if anyone has. I think, Laura, you were really trying to drill down on if people had specific questions about the dashboard itself. Just to say to everybody that we're going to pass to our next section where we're going to have wider questions about this. But I think we're looking for specific questions on the dashboard itself, right?
Yes. I mean, I can share the slides where we have the questions, but
Because I think here we're really lucky to have a great participation from the colleagues in Belgrade. Irena was there from the delegation, our colleague, but as well as that, we had also Milan, of course. I think we have the dual office. I see colleagues from Ministry of Labour, obviously Ministry of Education as well. We had Nella there. Mirko was also there too. But I also see we have Ivana and some of the team from the Agency of Qualifications. We also have I hope I'm not missing anyone there, from the Institute as well of Education, Improvement of Education. And I think we also have, if I get rightly, we also have Vesna and others from the Institute of Statistics. And I actually wanted to bring in Vesna. I hope you don't mind me volunteering you, Vesna, from the Institute of Statistics, Serbian Statistical Office. If that's okay with you, Laura, I wanted to bring in the colleagues from the Institute of Statistics, because I know that you had been very interested in this theme, and I'd love to get your perspective on the discussion so far, if that's okay.
Yeah, hello everyone, and thank you for very excellent presentations. It's clearly that it's a result of a great deal of efforts, and I imagine it was interesting and challenging research process to come to this. I would like, it's interesting to me to see the total number of vacancies that you show on slides, because in parallel, we are having a job vacancy survey, official survey in statistics. So we are expecting really soon some results from this. So it would be nice to compare numbers and to see how we can work together to use the visualization that you provided and infographics in our system.
Thank you very much, Vesna. Maybe if I may, a follow-up question on the timeline that you mentioned very soon. When can we expect this information so that we can...
In the next few months, we'll have the first results for the first quarter of 2026. And in parallel, we are developing labor market information system. So it would be nice to somehow link the portal that you provide the link actually to our system, so to make it more rich and interesting for the users. So thank you.
Great, that's good news. Also, in the light of the workshop that we plan to have, we're looking at October. But yes, here we are open to understand your views, your availability, your interest on this workshop, because this is the idea where we would really come and discuss more in depth in the analysis, the methodology that we discussed, and then we can see synergy. So as we said, with the statistical office for the labor market information system, with the public employment service system. So is October a good moment for you? Or are there other, milestones that we need to wait for? What is your insight on this? I'm interested both Vesna and maybe Milan, since you spoke before.
Yep. At the moment, October seems very good, but...
Okay, great.
Great. I just wonder if there's anyone else who would like to come in. Obviously, it was great to hear Nella from Ministry of Education. We work, of course, closely with the Ministry on various issues, and I see Mirko also is present as well. Mirko, I don't know if you would like to add anything on that from the Ministry's perspective. I hope you don't mind me volunteering you there. No, I can't hear you, in fact, so...
If not, Gordon, we have Dragica. with her.
Dragica, Dragica was next on my list, actually. And Dragica, thank you very much from ETF for the participation, because many of you know that ETF, we recently made a peer learning meeting in Bari, Italy, focusing on active labour market measures. And I'd like to thank you, Dragica, at the Ministry of Labour for the inputs you made. So over to you. Thanks.
And on today's presentation, what I wanted is
Hvala
to
puno
ask a
na
more general
pozivu zapravo
question
za učešće na
related
toj konferenciji, a i danas na
to
ovoj
the
prezentaciji. Ja sam
08
htjela da postavim
classification
jedno
of
šire
vocations
pitanje.
that ESCO also uses in the classification. We have information that the ILO is preparing to update this international standard 08. So do you maybe have such information? And does this update just mean adding some new vocations which have appeared in the labor market? Or maybe these changes will be of a greater volume and related to changing the types and groups and subgroups, that is all of the classifications for classification of different vocations, because this would actually, and how much actually this would influence the reforms or amendments to the ESCO classification regarding the vocations, but also this platform. So for the Republic of Serbia, if these changes were just updates of classification groups, this would mean that the ministry would have to prepare a proposal for the amendment of the decision, because on the basis of this act, we did the classification of vocations in the Republic of Serbia. So we use ESCO 08. However, maybe this is perhaps more a question for the ILO, I understand. But since we are talking about ESCO and the vocations, maybe if you have some information about this, could you please share them with us? Thank you very much.
Laura, just to say first, Dragica, I already discussed this a little bit with Laura after my return from Serbia, and this is something we're still thinking on. Laura, over to you.
Yes, thank you for the question. Very important and relevant change that is coming. Indeed, 2028 is when the ISCO classification should be revised, updated. We don't have information on what the implications are, if it's in terms of additional classification groups or changes in that, additional occupations. Personally, we don't have that information in ETF. So this is something that we can reach out to ILO perhaps. But in any case, indeed, this implies changes to the system that we all use. And yes, preparation on work that needs to be done. So ESCO will do that on their side, and we will take that information as it will be available at that time. But yes, we don't have much more information than that at this stage.
I think just to go back to the ESCO, I know this is about OJV, and I don't want to mix it too much. But Dragica and to the other colleagues, when I was in Serbia, we had a range of discussions about ESCO, and it's clear that we need to have a considered response to move together on that. And from my point of view, Laura, I think it's true to say we're still working on it, but we will come back to you as soon as we can. I'm not making excuses, but not a lot of time passed since the Serbia trip, and I was traveling again last week. But it's very much well noted, the discussions we had in Belgrade, and like I said, that this is something we need to work on. We're very happy to work with you on in the second part of the year and beyond. That's all from me right now. So,
Gordon, maybe it would be great if we could also hear from the qualifications agency.
Yes, indeed.
Office.
I know that Ivana was here earlier. I think she may have left. Can I invite the colleagues from the qualifications agency to raise their voice? If you're... Okay, I don't
Milica, we
think
don't hear you.
I don't see is
We
hi, Melissa, great to see you.
Thank you, Milica. Thank you very much. Indeed, it would be very interesting to further deep dive. Maybe in October we could use your qualifications agency use case and really focus on how you could use this data within the sector skills councils, how you can embed this as one additional data source that could then be validated with the experts in order to update your qualification standards. So as you have seen, the ICT sector is very prevalent. It's high turnover, skills demand, etc. So maybe you could prioritize the sector for your qualification standards. And this is just one example of how we can make use of the data. And for that, I would probably come back to you on a more bilateral basis to prepare the October workshop in terms of synergies and how this can be best used. And I know also personally, because we have met in CEDEFOP in the conference, that you are also preparing something related to machine learning and personalized pathways. I think that's very interesting development, and we are really here happy to support and brainstorm how we could make this a reality, of course, together with all the relevant partners in the country. So okay, great.
Thank you. Thank you. Laura, I'd like to bring in if anyone. I'm looking down the list. If anyone is there from the Office of Dual Education, if anyone was available to speak or wanted to say something, I would very much welcome that. I don't see.
Can you hear me? Can you
Yeah,
hear
please,
me?
please
Yes.
go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Primarily, I'd like to express my gratitude for this highly qualitative and meticulous presentation. By your side, we really do like your professionalism and skillfulness and the time you invested in this preparation. The dashboard that you presented just now, it's exclusively presenting meaningful, significant data that we are to apply in developing operational qualifications, and we shall make use of them. We are waiting for the next developing phase and the further steps to be developed. And we are happy to be part of the October event as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's well noted as well. In fact, I should say, Laura, I hope you don't mind that ETF, we're looking at a number of different events and issues that we would like to cooperate with you over the next few months, including also the online jobs vacancy, but also things like adult education. So let's see if we can combine that. Again, that depends on your availability, but also the practicalities. Of course, ETF, we'll be working on that and eventually come back to you, working, of course, in coordination with Irena and delegation colleagues and commission colleagues in Brussels too. How are we doing for time, Laura? We have another 10, 15 minutes.
Yes, we still have time. So
Yeah.
we can take more interventions, more questions, but I think
Please.
Yes, I think what is valuable is really to prepare the October workshop. And as you said, we can touch upon different subjects. I would like to work also more on ESCO, so the different aspects that we discussed with colleagues previously, but also the OGV analysis fits in very well. So yes, we're looking for identifying partners, institutions that would like to maybe showcase or work on a specific use case. So here we identify the qualifications agency, which is a very good start. But I'm wondering, what would you like to see more of? Is it more hands-on work with the data? Is it more understanding the process, the quality behind it? Would you like to see how other countries have used it or how they have used it? Just, to be very practical, to really understand what are your needs so that we can respond to them while we are there. As we have discussed with the statistical office, yes, this would be very timely if we could have access to what you are working on the job vacancy rate. We could also invite maybe another European national institute to tell from their perspective. So just brainstorming to understand what are your best, what would be the most efficient and useful at that stage.
And Laura, I think we would ideally we'd also like to hear the voices of the private sector, and I see that I don't recognise. Sorry, I know we've invited the Employers Association and the Chamber of Commerce, and also see that Radi. Great to see you, Radi, is there from the trade unions. But again, this is a message for all stakeholders. I mean, please reflect on Laura's questions, and we're very open to hearing your suggestions right now in the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but also ideally in the next couple of weeks, well, before the holidays, and ideally. But I see that Nella, you've raised your hand again. Over to you. So Nella, thanks again from the Ministry of Education perspective. Thanks. Nella, as always, thank you for your intervention there. Look, colleagues, anything else? Just to confirm, if because I am going down the list, it's maybe I need to redo my glasses, but do we have anyone from the employers or the chambers of commerce who's there today? Radi, if you're still there, I'm very happy to hear your view from trade union perspective. from the employee perspective, but don't feel, please.
Thank you very much, Milica. Note taken.
Thank you for that very interesting perspective.
Okay.
Sorry, Laura.
I don't see any other interventions. I mean, we don't want to put you on the spot either, and we understand this is very new for you as well, and you need time to digest, read all the documents. I see Milan needs to leave. Thank you very much. So really, let's take the time to digest all the information. Of course, there is a need from our side to further explain, showcase the data, maybe look into particular sectors or occupational groups, so that you can see, or in practice how this could be relevant and useful. So yeah, I think with that, maybe, I don't know if there's any other elements or points, Mauro or Francesco, that you would like to bring in at this stage for October. What would be, yeah. Yeah, thank you, Mauro. And maybe I'm just, brainstorming a bit because you mentioned the validation phase. I'm wondering if colleagues in the statistical office would like to be associated in any, stage with this, just so that you have help validated or to get, further insight into the whole process. I mean, there's no obligation, of course, just in terms of your interest and availability. Feel free to also take time to reflect on that, but I think that would be very valuable also for us. Of course, we work with the national expert, Professor Andarenko, here with us, but in addition, if you would like to be associated or involved, that would be very much welcomed on our side as well. Okay. So if there are any final questions, remarks, interventions?
Laura, it looks like the presentations have been so comprehensive. We've figured out everything. No, seriously, I mean, from my perspective, look, thanks to you. And like I said before you finish, anyone who's in the chat, I think there'll be some follow-up for this already in the next day or so, and feel free to respond to me or to Laura in terms of any of the questions that have been raised. So Laura, I'll pass over to you for the closure.
Thank you. I think, yes, we're good in closing for today, thank you very much for your participation, your attention, sharing your views, your feedback. We really look forward to the October event, so we will follow up on that in the coming months. And yes, really great to start working more on this and with you, of course. Thanks a lot to the team for the excellent work, wider team as well, project support team, the interpreters. So really a big thank you to all of you. And we look forward to continuing working together on this. So all the best and see you soon, very soon. Yes. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye. Prijetno.